Hey everybody, it's Sam with Wrestling Overtime, and I wanted to give you guys a review of Super Showdown that happened February 27th, 2020, the big pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia. I watched it, and I gave you guys results as soon as it ended, but I decided I needed to take some time and actually, I don't know, think some things through. Decide, well, did I really like them or did I really hate them as much as I had a immediate reaction to them? So I started watching at obviously 11 a.m. It's a kickoff show, and basically there were only three things that happened in an hour. AJ Styles announced that he would deal with Aleister Black on Monday Night Raw coming up. Paul Heyman said that miracles do happen, but not tonight. And then, of course, we had the Viking Raiders versus the OC. I was not excited about this match whatsoever. I wasn't 100% sure why it was happening. The OC won the best tag team in the world tournament last time in Saudi Arabia. And I know that the Viking Raiders just lost the belts, but I guess I just assumed that the Viking Raiders would take on AOP. Or they would take on Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins in a rematch. I thought that something like that would happen. But they relegated these two to the kickoff show. The other thing that went through my head was Carl Anderson's wife made a huge deal on social media on Twitter last year saying that after the travel arrangements debacle, that her husband wasn't going back to Saudi Arabia. Yet here he is. So this match, it was a kickoff show match. It wasn't that great. The Viking Raiders, to me, are just pretty nasty. Especially when Ivar did his little beard move of wrapping his beard around their head. I don't know. I just can't get over that this match is happening. I don't really understand it. Did Saudi Arabia ask for this, or are they required to do 10 matches, or what? Because there's really no storyline for this. Ivar did show off his athleticism during the whole match, and I was impressed with that. I had not seen him do a lot of that and do a longer match. But the OC won with the Magic Killer. Where does this leave both of them? I think basically in the same place that they always have been. I don't think either team got a huge pop. I don't think either team got any heat. I don't think this did anything good. So this just brings me back to what I just said. Are they required to do 10 matches? Because you're going to hear me say that throughout this review. Is some of these matches I wasn't impressed with. I don't feel like the superstars either were in the condition after the long 18-hour flight to give a good match, or there wasn't a storyline that actually got anyone involved or excited about the match. It just seemed like a lot of people were thrown together with no build, and that it was, I don't know, really clunky. And the thing is in a lot of these matches, we kind of know who they're going to face in the Elimination Chamber in a week and a half. We kind of know who they may face in WrestleMania in April. So it almost seems to me like, why are we having this? I know that it's been called a glorified house show before, and it almost is. So I'll be honest with you. I kind of got excited for the gauntlet match and was excited that it was happening as the second match on the card. The Tawait Mountain Trophy, they explain. I'm thankful because on a past podcast I asked, what was the big deal, but they talked about it being basically an invincible mountain to climb, that it was very well known in Saudi Arabia. So we immediately get R-Truth, and he comes out singing his "What's Up" song. And I want to mark out. I have become an R-Truth fan. I can't wait to watch the network's 24 on him. I did not know that R-Truth had been in jail and that had basically changed his life around. So when they showed the previews of that, I was like, oh, I've got to watch that. I want to hear his story. I don't know, it intrigues me. However, I wasn't real excited to hear Bobby Lashley's music hit. He shocked me. He came out with Lana. She was, of course, dressed, covered up from head to toe, but she just came out and waved and basically said good luck to Lashley, and then went immediately to the back. And I thought, is she going to interfere in some other way? Why did she make the trip? But anyway, R-Truth went on the offensive, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed R-Truth getting the better of Lashley. Now, Lashley hit his famous where he holds you straight up and then takes you into a suplex move. But I can help but kind of mark out when R-Truth, who says his childhood idol is John Cena, hit the 5-knuckle shuffle. But he couldn't really complete the AA. Lashley was just way too much for him. Lashley ended up missing the spear and hitting the ring post, so R-Truth could pin him. I was extremely excited, and I wanted to be yelling at the TV screen, hey, you need to get out of here, when Lashley refused to leave. And he beat on R-Truth, and then he actually ended up spearing him, which was going to be kind of the storyline of this gauntlet match, is R-Truth taking some of the pounding, taking some of the pain, and then fighting through it. So the next music we hear is Andrade. So I guess he's back from his, wellness suspension, and I am kind of glad to see him back. He's changed his outfit a little bit. He was wearing white, and I was kind of impressed. It didn't look like he had sat around and ate the whole 30 days. He actually came back pretty fit. He took his time, however, getting into the ring and getting situated with his outfit, while R-Truth basically just laid there. Now, I will be honest with you. I was really impressed when Andrade hit an armbar through the ropes. It reminded me of Becky Lynch doing that disarmer to Sarah Logan earlier, in the week. R-Truth, they say, has a cut under his eye, and it appears, I kept looking, it appears that he might have slightly have a cut under his eye, but it wasn't gushing blood or anything like that, so they didn't really call a whole lot of attention to it, and the referee didn't immediately stop or check on it. However, the referee does get thrown gloves, and he does put them on almost immediately after. Now, Andrade started working on his left arm. He put R-Truth in a left arm bar, and he was really, really working on that. And then all of a sudden, R-Truth is over in the corner, and Andrade pulls down his knee pad, going to hit him basically with an open knee, running knee, and R-Truth moved. So he hit his knee on the ring post. And so he kind of was squirming around on the floor, and R-Truth hit a corkscrew. And Andrade went for an elbow, and they actually hit heads. So they were both kind of acting like they didn't know what's up. And so R-Truth landed on him and immediately got the pin for the win. So then the next music who hits is Eric Rowan and his cage. And I'm like, seriously, Saudi Arabia's customs let Rowan bring his cage. This is now getting ridiculous. The only good thing that I've heard about what could be in the cage is I heard on a podcast that they wish it was Al Snow's head that he used to bring to the ring. I think that's hilarious. I think that's a great idea. I would definitely mark out for that. Otherwise, I don't really care about Rowan, and I don't care what's in his cage. He went hard after R-Truth. And R-Truth hit him twice with his knee. And then Truth got thrown into the steps and knocked over the cage. So Rowan just loses his mind, checking on his buddy. And he picks up the steps and hits R-Truth and gets disqualified. And then afterwards continued to beat him basically with the steps. Now, before this match, they had legitimately went over the rules. They said not only with the competitors, but they went over them with us in the audience. And, you know, they made it very, very clear that you could be disqualified and lose your place. So I know what they were trying to do. They wanted to sell that, you know, Rowan lost his temper and lost his mind and couldn't remember the rules and all that garbage. Yeah, I'm not buying that. He didn't act like that. He didn't sell that. So, again, get Rowan off my screen. But then we hear AJ Styles music hit, and the phenomenal one, the fireworks display, the pyro, all of that was great, and he is smiling the whole entire way. He continues smiling as he takes off his vest and his shirt, and Truth starts out swinging wildly because he's been through, you know, quite a few matches where people are working on his arm, have drilled him. Rowan has now hit him with steps. He is just swinging wildly, and Styles starts taking advantage of it. Styles starts working on his left shoulder, and AJ kind of shocked me. He almost treated it like a house show, which again, it is a glorified house show, but I was shocked. AJ started mocking him with different dance moves. It was great seeing AJ do the Cabbage Patch and the Running Man, while he continued to basically just kick R-Truth's left arm, his left shoulder. He also started working on his left leg. And then eventually, AJ Styles decides to put him out of his misery and does a calf crusher on R-Truth, and Truth ends up tapping. And the crowd actually went wild. I wanted to go wild because R-Truth gave it all he's got. I mean, he had went through so many matches in pain that it was pretty exciting. Now, AJ is waiting on Rey Mysterio, who is the last man up, and he is smiling. The announcers sell it pretty good as far as AJ looking forward to this, but they flash almost immediately to the OC beating up Rey Mysterio. They had shown Ray's graphic and hit his music twice before they showed that, and people were like, "Oh, where's Ray? Where's Ray?" And so AJ Styles ends up getting the mic and tells the ref, "Raise my arm, raise my arm." Mysterio is forfeiting. The ref refuses. So Styles rolls out of the ring and tells the timekeeper, "Hey, you need to ring the bell." But the ref then calls AJ back over and tells him, he's got to count to 10 to make it official. So the referee starts the count. Well, up on the big screen, we see Gallows and Anderson are being thrown across the room. And when I say thrown, I mean they're thrown. And then we see a black trench coat that looks really familiar walk across the screen. And the screen goes black and the Undertaker's music hits. And yes, I know the news that I reported earlier said, hey, the Undertaker's in Saudi Arabia. But as far as anyone knew, he was not gonna have a match. He was not going to do anything. That he might make an appearance, but he was not gonna have a match. But let me tell you, they pulled out all stops. WWE did an awesome job of showing The Undertaker walking down the aisle to lasers, to fire. I can't imagine being in that stadium and seeing that. It was pretty unbelievable. Now, AJ Styles, when The Undertaker gets in the ring, basically starts yelling he's not supposed to be there. And as he does that, he accidentally touches The Undertaker, which of course we all know you are not supposed to be touching The Undertaker. So The Undertaker picks him up and choke slams him. Puts his hands across him in the rest in peace pose and pins him. Well, here's the great thing, boys and girls, about this whole match. Not only the pyro, not only, the lasers and the fire and all that. The Undertaker never even removed his trench coat or his hat. So it is basically like he didn't have a match. All he did was chokeslam him, and that was the end of this. So then we see The Undertaker walking back, and they flash to the New Day. The New Day are clapping for The Undertaker, and then they basically start making fun of the Miz's theme song, because it says, "When I come to play." And they are, making fun of him coming to Saudi Arabia to play. And they started doing the New Day Rocks chant. Well, right after that, Miz and Morrison come out to their music and their little dance or whatever, and then New Day comes out for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Kofi is again throwing pancakes as fireworks are going off. I really wish they did not have the former WWE champion throwing pancakes all the time. I wish that they would drop that from their routine. But anyway, Miz and Big E start off, and they talk about how Big E is the one that has the lowest number of years of experience, and how all of the rest of them have been on the scene wrestling for different promotions for quite a while. Big E is showing off power, and then he ends up spanking the Miz to the beat of the New Day Rocks chant. But Miz tags Morrison, and Big E ends up outside, and the Miz kicks him, and let me tell you, Morrison went over the ropes to hit Big E, and that may have been one of the moves of the day. It was an unbelievable move that Morrison did, and he has really impressed me with a lot of the aerial moves that he has done over the ropes, on the ropes, and just everything. He is a big, tall, powerful luchador, basically. The way he flips around, it is just craziness. But the Miz and Morrison, I really did enjoy how they were using quick tags to basically isolate Big E. However, he eventually, of course, has to make the tag to Kofi. So Kofi kind of takes control of Morrison until they both basically crawl to get to Big E and Miz and tag them back in. Miz has to do the yes kicks, or the it kicks, but basically the yes kicks, and then he quick tags Morrison, and Big E ends up rolling out of the pin, or rolling out of the Starship Pain move. Morrison goes for the Starship Pain, and Big E moves out of the way. Big E and Kofi did a nice combo move, and Miz ended up having to break up the pin. Kofi moved out of the way of Miz, and Kofi ended up going over the ropes. Miz hit the Skull Crusher on Big E, but Big E kicked out. And as Kofi comes back in, Kofi was, I don't know, kind of hanging onto the ropes as Morrison got a chair, hit him in the stomach while Miz was distracting the referee, and the Miz ended up rolling Kofi up and grabbing his tights to retain the championships. Of course, you know, the New Day gripes a little bit, but they won the championships. So then we get Angel Garza and Humberto. And as they're walking to the ring, I'm thinking, man, I just saw this on Raw. I just saw this 3 days ago. Saw this, you know, basic same match. And are they going to do anything different? Well, no. This match, I enjoyed this match, but it was not as good as their Raw match. And it really, I wish they would have not even brought him out and just played their Raw match, because their Raw match this week was unbelievable. But I will give credit, Garza sold nicely for a lot of Humberto's flips and dives and different moves. However, Humberto, he oversells bad. He definitely needs way more developmental time. He needs a lot more practice. I was shocked at how many shoot face kicks on both sides. I'm not sure that they didn't time them correctly, or they don't know what they're doing, or they were doing them on purpose, but they really were doing pretty hard kicks to each other's face. I wouldn't be surprised if when we see them, next Monday, that they don't have some bruises or that they have to cover up in makeup, because it seemed like they were actually really going after each other, I should say. There were way too many false finishes in this, and eventually Garza hits Humberto with a roll up and wins. They do announce that on Monday Night Raw that they are going to have Rey Mysterio and Humberto take on Garza and Andrade. Well, this is what I've been arguing about. This is like every week they want to have a Latino segment. They don't need that. We have moved past this. We do not need to have a complete segment of nothing but Latinos. WWE, you can spread them out. You can have them take on other people. They do not have to take on each other. So let's move on with this program. Let's, figure this out. And of course, then they go to the interview with Bayley about making history, defending the SmackDown Championship for the first time ever in Saudi Arabia. And she basically just says that she is the most dominant woman in WWE. Now, I talked on a past podcast how Bayley is probably one of the more underrated wrestlers. I think if you were going to name your top 5 women's wrestlers right now in all of wrestling, I don't think that she would be in your top 5 at all. I think even if you named your top 5 WWE women's wrestlers, I don't know if she would be number 5 or if she wouldn't. She's definitely not in the top 4. So I think she is pretty underrated. But anyway, we have Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy come out. I'm not calling him Murphy yet. I think that's stupid. I don't hear us calling everybody else by one name. So I don't understand why we can't continue to call him Buddy Murphy. But anyway, they come out. And then the Street Profits music hits. I don't understand this match. What did the Street Profits do to deserve this match? I don't understand. I was totally shocked that no one was talking. I can't believe they didn't do a promo. I can't believe Seth Rollins didn't try to give a sermon. I can't believe Seth Rollins didn't talk. Definitely can't believe the Street Profits didn't talk. They didn't go through the crowd. They came down the ramp. I was really shocked that they came out with their red Solo cup. In Saudi Arabia, with the religious rules that they had, I was. This was just an okay match. I started getting bored. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is supposed to be Saudi Arabia's WrestleMania. They are paying $1 billion for these matches, and this is what they're getting. Both teams, I felt, didn't give it their all. I felt like they were tired. I felt like, they had just had single matches against each other on Monday Night Raw. I felt like this was not built up. It was craziness. I don't understand why they did not take on the Viking Raiders, who they have been, beating on now for a couple weeks. I understand Samoa Joe is suspended, so therefore Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens would have been the better match, but, they weren't there. So I felt like the Street Profits and Seth Owens and Buddy Murphy, it was a huge, huge letdown. And of course, Seth Rollins stomped on Dawkins while Buddy Murphy distracted the referee. And then after he was done, Murphy pinned him to retain the championships. It it was boring. Well, the boring continued. I don't understand Dolph Ziggler coming out with Bobby Roode to face Mansoor. I understand that he is Saudi Arabia's only WWE superstar. I understand that he's on this big winning streak in Saudi Arabia matches. But he doesn't wrestle anywhere else. Dolph Ziggler is a NCAA champion. He actually is a wrestler. He has probably a good 15 to 20 years experience. He is one of the most underrated wrestlers probably in wrestling. He has forgotten more wrestling moves than Mansoor even knows. And in this match, it was obvious. Dolph Ziggler did everything he could to sell and sell and sell and sell. But I just was not interested. I was not impressed. I didn't believe it. And I can't believe that they put Dolph Ziggler in a jobber position again. I want him to move on from the Corbin and Reigns dog food storyline. But this was not how to do it. We're setting him up with, Otis and Mandy Rose love triangle. Why didn't we play that up? Mansoor could have been on the kickoff show. He does not need to be in the middle of Super Showdown. This was absolutely ridiculous. And it was not believable that he defeated Dolph after a moonsault. I hope that Dolph Ziggler got paid for this, or I'm telling you, Dolph Ziggler, after this, needs to leave. As soon as his contract's up, he needs to leave. WWE, he deserves a bonus for the embarrassment that you put him through. This was absolutely awful. They give Mansoor a mic, and he talks to the crowd about how they pick him up and they give him hope. Well, they didn't even let Ziggler get any offense. So exactly when did they pick him up? When did they have to give him any hope? And then he says he is showing WWE that he is here to stay, that they are here to stay, and then he started speaking in Arabic. This was a show for the Saudi audience. And like I said, this is just another glorified house show, because ridiculous things happen at house shows that make zero sense, and this was it. And why we started basically going downhill, showing Garza and Humberto that we showed on Raw. Then we show Rollins and Murphy retaining over the Street Profits, and then we go to Ziggler and Mansoor. Raw, you're losing it. Or I shouldn't say Raw. WWE, you are losing all of your United States crowd. This was the boringest part of the show. I wanted to turn it off. I wish it wasn't live. I was looking around for my fast forward button and realized, oh my gosh, I didn't DVR this. I can't fast forward to this. This is live and I'm watching it and it is dreadful. So then we get Ricochet's music. Ricochet's entrance was pretty awesome. I will give WWE credit. Then, of course, Brock comes out, gets introduced by Paul Heyman, and the announcers the whole entire time are selling this as David versus Goliath match. And, of course, you know, Ricochet is selling in this as he's going to make all his dreams come true. Well, let me tell you about this match. It won't take long. Ricochet went to charge Brock Lesnar, and Brock basically swatted him away. He did 3 German suplexes, and then an F5, and then Brock pinned Ricochet like he was a little kid. There were no flippity flops. There was no offense by Ricochet. This was a nightmare. And I'm thinking the boredom continues. And the ridiculousness continues. So then we get Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns in a steel cage match where they say this is their last match. Well, God, I hope so. Because I thought, you know, at Royal Rumble, that should have been their last match. They never should have continued this. I don't know why they chose to continue this. I don't know. I don't really understand why this needed to be in a steel cage. It was in an open top steel cage, obviously. And when you compare it to AEW's last week steel cage match with Cody and Wardlow, it doesn't even compare. They're not even in the same category. They're not in the same stratosphere. One of the biggest differences in AEW, you can't use the cage to escape. It has to be submission or pinfall. Period. Well, WWE decided not to institute that rule. So a lot of this match was them climbing up the cage and fighting on, you know, top of one of the sides and just hauling off and hitting each other. Because neither one of these guys, they're big, powerful guys, but neither one of them are big-time wrestlers. I mean, we've got Baron Corbin, who is a Golden Gloves champ, and Roman Reigns, who is a football player, and they're not going to do any kind of wrestling moves. They're not flippity-flop guys. They're not going to do springs into the cage or anything like that. And so I don't understand, after AEW announcing and promoting their steel cage match forever, why WWE chose this, knowing that these two guys just couldn't pull it off. But anyway, Corbin shows up, of course, being carried down to the ring, being King Corbin. He's in chainmail. Then he ends up taking it off. He takes the crown off, and then we get Roman Reigns coming down the ramp. He has a chain around his neck, and when they put him in the cage, he says, "Shut the door." Well, the ref shuts the door, and of course everybody notices that Roman has not taken that chain off from around his neck. Corbin is pointing that out to the referee as Roman takes the chain off around his neck, wraps it around the door, and then takes out a lock and padlocks it. He shows the key to Baron Corbin and puts it in his pocket. Now, for those of you who didn't really understand what I said or put two and two together, when you wrap a chain around anything and put a padlock on it, you don't need the key. You don't need the key to put the padlock around the chain or through the chain. You don't need the key to lock it. So showing the key and then showing where you're putting it kind of defeats the purpose. But anyway, like I said, it was them beating on each other a little bit. It was them climbing, Baron, of course, being the chicken heel, trying to climb the cage to get out because he couldn't get out through the door, them beating on each other on top of the side of the cage. But eventually, Baron gets the key from Roman's pocket and unlocks the padlock. Now, Roman stops him from going through the door. Roman stops him by banging the cage door up against him, of course. And so then Corbin grabs the chain and tries to wrap it around his fist and, hit Roman with his fist, and that doesn't work. And finally, Roman wraps the chain around his fist to hit Corbin with a Superman punch and pins him. So Roman won. This match was so long. It was tedious. We've seen it. It's ridiculous. Like I said, AEW just did this last week. I cannot believe that WWE thought this would even come anywhere close. And I know if people had not paid $9.99, probably took off work, that they would have turned it off. If this would have been on a Monday Night Raw, you would have saw viewership drop. But, I'm going to be honest with you. I hung in because I wanted to see the last two matches. I wanted to see Naomi and Bayley, which is the next match for the Women's Championship. Number one, it was history making. It's the first time that the Women's Championship has ever been defended in Saudi Arabia. Two, it's the second time that women have ever been allowed to compete in Saudi Arabia. And three, Naomi is the first black woman, African American woman, to actually be allowed to compete in Saudi Arabia. Bayley's never beaten Naomi. So I'm just going to be honest. Part of me kind of wanted that to happen. I wanted Naomi to win her second championship. This was a good but really ugly match. Naomi, you could tell, had been off for a while. I don't know that she practiced a whole lot. You couldn't tell, obviously. I know that she was against Carmella last week, but you couldn't tell whether or not she had gotten buff or anything. Obviously, they recovered basically from neck to toes, and this just went on way too long. Even though the whole pay-per-view was, 3 hours and 20 minutes, it just felt like the matches drug on and on and on. I can't emphasize how ugly this match was. They did not work together. They did not feel like they had any chemistry. Again, there was no story to tie it together. Bayley, I will give her credit. She retained. After taking Naomi's foot and putting it, placing it. Naomi was on the ground, on her stomach, and Bayley put her foot inside of her shirt, then picked her up by her shoulders and slammed her face in the mat, rolled her over and pinned her to retain the championship. And so I was like, that was a cool move they came up with, or somebody came up with. But, it was just predictable. It was real predictable. So we get to the last match of the night, and it's Goldberg versus The Fiend. And they have been selling Goldberg extremely hard this whole pay-per-view. And in my head, I'm thinking WWE is doing that basically to make Saudi Arabia happy, to make it sound like it's, a big deal, to make the match that he has at WrestleMania be something humongous and big. Because there's no way in my mind that I think that WWE is going to allow Goldberg to win this match. Goldberg is a part-timer. He's ancient. His matches can't last more than 5 minutes because he's out of shape. We've got Bray Wyatt, who we've been building up now for, 8 months for his big WrestleMania moment. We have made him be the only thing at times that has been worth it on SmackDown. Waiting for him to show up or waiting for him to attack someone. There's no way that WWE is gonna let Goldberg win. And so as they're announcing Goldberg, I'm thinking to myself, well, what weird way has Bray Wyatt come up with to get after Goldberg? What mind games can he play? What move is he going to use? Because in my head, I'm thinking, he's not going to use the mandible claw. He's going to do something spectacular. This is Super Showdown. This is Saudi Arabia's WrestleMania. Vince McMahon is trying to turn this into almost a second WrestleMania and make it on par with SummerSlam. And so I'm thinking, what can they do? The Fiend actually comes out and has a pretty cool entrance. I was a little shocked that he was using Bray's lantern to come down to the ring with and had the belt around his neck, which you guys know from past podcasts that I absolutely hate. But I was kind of hoping that his entrance would be him maybe coming halfway down the ramp and all of the lights going out, and then boom, he's in the middle of the ring, or something like that. But anyway, the Fiend takes off his jacket, and Goldberg spears him. And the Fiend, of course, gets up. He gets the mandible claw on Goldberg. Goldberg gets out of it, and then Goldberg ends up spearing the Fiend 3 times. Every time the Fiend gets up, on the 3rd time, the Fiend sets up and gets Goldberg back into a mandible claw. And I thought, please don't let him win with a mandible claw. Well, WWE must have heard me. Because what they did was have Goldberg get up with the mandible claw and basically shake it off. And he jackhammered the Fiend for the win. Yes, you heard me right. Goldberg won. The Fiend disappears as the lights go out and Goldberg celebrates. How do I feel about this? I feel like this is just an awful nightmare that WWE is making me have, and I haven't woke up yet. But no, I'm talking to you guys, so I know I have woke up. I absolutely can't believe they have gave the belt to Goldberg. Number one, like I said, he doesn't do anything. He has 3 moves. He spears people, he jackhammers them, and he pins them. That's it. He's not a wrestler. He is just a famous football player figure that they let go on an undefeated streak. If they would have let Lars Sullivan do this, or they would have let Braun Strowman do this, they would be Goldberg too. WWE created Goldberg. Goldberg didn't create Goldberg. Goldberg can't wrestle. So, to put him over Bray Wyatt, who actually can wrestle, who is actually, I believe, a 3rd generation wrestler, is ridiculous. This whole pay-per-view, I'm so glad that I am getting the network free for this month. Because if I would have paid even $9.99 for this, I would have been mad. The last 5 matches were garbage. I mean garbage. I can't believe this even lasted 3 hours and 20 minutes. I can't believe, basically, what Vince McMahon has done is given Goldberg the belt so that Roman Reigns can take him on at WrestleMania, and they can use those 2 names to get a streaming platform interested to buy WrestleMania off of WWE, them take it off the network and charge $50 for it. They're hoping ESPN Plus will recognize Roman Reigns' name, will recognize Bill Goldberg's name, and want to buy that as their pay-per-view for WrestleMania. That's sad. Vince McMahon, instead of doing what should be done and doing what the fans deserve, chose money again over the fans. And it's just sad. It is just extremely sad. I'm going to be real honest with you guys. I am looking forward to tomorrow's SmackDown. Why? Because John Cena's coming home to Boston. And I hope they make a huge deal out of that. Rumors are John Cena is still slated to take on The Fiend. But I don't know how you rebuild The Fiend after this. They've got basically 6 weeks, maybe, to do that. And I don't even know if John Cena can do that. Because that's basically what they're doing. They're asking John Cena to rebuild and re-give heat to Bray Wyatt, to help Bray Wyatt sell this match. And I don't know that it can be done. But if anyone can do it, then it is Bray Wyatt and John Cena. So I will see you guys soon. I will be giving you a news update later tonight and possibly tomorrow before SmackDown. But I look forward to talking to you guys again. If you guys have any questions, problems, protests, or you want to agree with me, hit me up on wrestlingovertime@gmail.com, or come join us on Wrestling Overtime's Facebook page or on our Twitter page. I will see you guys soon.